You're listening to the BulkLoads podcast, your number one resource for everything bulk freight trucking. And this is episode 242.
Caleb and Austin, thanks for joining in.
Thanks for having us. This is a couple times I've been on this podcast beforehand, and man, it's always a blessing to be on here and talk to the audience that's out there. So,
yeah. Well, you were on last time we talked TMS was probably over a year ago, maybe.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It might have been even in 2020.
Yeah. A lot has changed since then. Yeah. You now have Austin with you, another person as well backing it up. But yeah, it's really taken off. And that's the premise we really want to talk about today. We've seen just some comments about, what is TMS, or what is, we recently launched BulkLoads Plus earlier this year. So we really want to go through and talk about what it is, what it does, who it's for, who it's not for. And I think you're going to get a lot from this because, man, we have, poured our souls into this thing, but for the right reasons. For the benefits of you all as our members. So Caleb, let's start right now. Let's kind of go back in time just a little bit to talk about kind of the why we started Bulk TMS and then kind of how we've moved along to where we are today.
Yeah, I think just in general as well too, it's just what is the mission of what BulkLoads is. So even if we take it back further to when you worked to start BulkLoads back in the day, what was the real vision behind it? And it was the idea of connectivity.
Right.
It's how do we connect everybody together in an equal playing field to make everybody chat.
Yep.
So that's the idea of BulkLoads. We really wanted to enhance that a tad bit more, but as well as provide services for people that BulkLoads didn't at the time.
Yep.
So BulkLoads' main reason or main groups that will use it, and you'll see at these trading groups, freight brokerages, carriers, it's mainly the dispatchers.
Yep.
That interact with this on a day-to-day. So what if we could design something else that will affect somebody that everybody has working with them or working for them right now? These are the people that make sure our T's are lined or I's are dotted at the end of the day. These are our freight payable people. They're the thing that make our company run and function at the end of the day. And for some people, this could be hired people that you have. This could be your wife. This could even be you. For a lot of these owner-operators are sitting in the driver's seat.
I think to be clear too, one of the premises on creating this, it wasn't to eliminate anybody, but it was just to enhance the productivity and efficiency in the way we're doing business. So we knew that digitization was already out there, but coming at us even light speeds with the way the ag and grain freight world is moving. So how do we incorporate that into our processes and make it easier for trucking companies, shipping companies, brokerages, and anybody that's supporting that easier to work with?
100%. And the idea as well too is that, and we did a poll here after this, who loves doing paperwork at the end of the day? You're probably not going to see a lot of positive feedback from that. Yeah. So how do we enhance that process, like you said, at the same time, make sure everybody's working as hard as as hard as we can for the right goal? So that's what really the why of what Bulk TMS. And I think just even hitting the real points that we wanted to cover is Bulk TMS, how can we enhance the communication aspect of things? How do we set it up in a way where a carrier can get a message on their phone, wherever it is in the truck, on all the freight they need to have at the end of the day, and all the information they could ever need to complete that load?
So you might be listening to this as a carrier being like, well, this has nothing to do with me. Well, it does, because BulkLoads, like Caleb said, was always kind of the networking piece of finding those connections on there. But now Bulk TMS, now BulkLoads Plus, we've created more enhanced ways for you to connect with them digitally, to get those documents, get the needed information, get the rates, get the load details, all of that on there. We knew that was the next evolution or process, because there are people that just want to do bulk loads, but there's another group that want to take it a step further and use those extra processes.
Yeah, and as well too for carriers as well too, it's sending it to your buddy, it's sending it to your drivers that you have with you as well too that work underneath you.
Yeah,
as well as we wanted to build something as well too that really understand the bulk marketplace as well. It always feels like we're the last to get anything here in the dry bulk world. Like if you looked at other systems for in the past, and I've looked at a bunch of them on the TMS end of what's something out there that can actually help run my business. It always felt like everything we've seen out there was built for vans, it was built for LTL, it was built for flatbeds, reefers, but it was nothing for us. So how do we incorporate the measurements to do invoicing a lot easier for the bulk guys? Instead of, I know owner operators, stuff like that, having to play that complicated game of having a calculator out there at all times, having to figure out what your rate is and put it on an invoice and send it out at the end of the day every day, or your wife having to do that, or family member.
Austin, I was going to let you, we haven't let you talk yet,
Yeah.
but you've been onboarding a lot of these new companies. I mean, we got hundreds, maybe even thousands of people using the TMS right now. But what are the things you're hearing from them, the positives? What are they saying that's benefiting them now that it wasn't before?
Yeah, I think there's really 2 or 3 things that have stuck out to me through this process, and Caleb briefly touched on it earlier, but just how easy we can get documents back and how easy paperwork is through the system. How many of your wives sit at home, or like Caleb said, family members or someone there in the office that works long, hard hours, even weekends a lot of times, and they're just playing this complicated game of connect the tickets.
Yeah.
They're trying to do all this math. So just the time, and it's real rewarding for us too on our end. Just the stories I've heard, you gave my wife's weekends back. We could spend more time with the kids, stuff like that. I think
Oh,
that's,
wow.
I mean, really powerful stuff that we're allowing some of our users, to do, saving them so much time. Another thing on that end is just how easy this process is, how
Yeah.
easy BulkLoads Plus is. I know a lot of our users, might be in that 5 to 10 truck range. And a lot of them, the head dispatcher, he's still in the truck himself.
Yep.
And they have the ease of use where they don't have to be at a computer to send an email or go through these long things, but they have the opportunity to dispatch and create loads even on their cell phone through the BulkLoads app. So just being able to see that process and how quick and simple it is for guys to use, those 2 things would probably highlight it for me the most.
Well, and I think sometimes the rhetoric you get or the complaints, somebody that's not looking at it, they're going to say, oh my gosh, number one, this is another thing you're trying to upsell me on. And then number 2, it's like, it's another technology that is something else I have to use and all that. But once they start using it and you guys fully train people when they get on board how to use this, like you hear the positives, it's always like that. I don't want to use it. And then they start using it and then it's like changed their lives.
Yeah. Like I even have stories as well too, or working with different trucking companies as well. Like where you sat down with like somebody that's 70 years old and still driving a truck. And it's like, oh man, this technology, I'm just so scared of it. And you go through it in person with them or on the phone with them and say, hey, no, this is how it works. Just take this picture here, type in some small details, and you're good to go. And it's a couple gripes at it, second or third ticket. By the time it all gets processed through, it's like, man, you know how much this is going to save time for me? How much is going to save me on money? Like we got these groups and stuff like that. It's like, you talk about the upcharge within some of this stuff too, but how much money you spend in a week on just overnighting tickets back? That's $40 right there when you want to do it. And if you got to do it 2 times a week, that's $80 at that point. So you could be spending $80 a week just getting tickets back and forth from overnighting it.
Yeah.
When there's a lot simpler way to get this back and forth nowadays.
Yeah. And guys driving, halfway across town to get to whoever's house they need to even drop off paperwork.
Yeah.
That 15, 30 minutes a week or a day even, it adds up over time.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, like who this is really for and who it's not for. I think that's important because, again, the solution isn't for everybody out there. There's people that we know that now that we've been kind of test running this, or I shouldn't say testing, but now we have users on this who it really benefits, who's getting the most out of it. But Austin, let's talk about that first. Like, what in your mind, and we don't want to segregate anybody, but who's kind of that sweet spot user that's really benefiting from the TMS?
Yeah, I would say on our end, on the carrier end, so something to keep in mind is this system can be utilized by carriers, brokers, and shippers alike.
Yep.
It's very customizable, so they all use it in a different facet. But kind of what I've found on the carrier end, we have individuals, I would say our average is around that 5 to 10, 15 truck operation, but it ranges anywhere from 5 all the way to 50, 60 truck operations.
Yeah.
So we've really tried to create in a fashion to where it could work for anybody. And anybody that's seen it can kind of see where that connection comes in.
So that's on the carrier side. Shipping companies. I mean, I know we have a lot of co-ops, grain elevators. I mean, merchandising groups using it as well.
Yeah. So, like you said, a lot of co-ops, a lot of groups out in Kansas are beginning to utilize it on the co-op level. Brokerages that are, bulk specific, a lot of them are starting to see. And some of you may have seen some notifications come through, and it says, whoever it may be sent me a load through BulkLoads, and you might be wondering what that is. That's just your shippers and brokers that you work for. They're already utilizing the system.
Yeah.
So I know we get a lot of phone calls. Like, I see this in my booked loads on your My Freight tab if you look at the app, and that's simply just them interacting with the app. So a lot of instances, they want you to maybe further connect with that, maybe send data back through it, whether it be pictures, weights, whatever it may be. So if you are getting that right now, feel free to give us a call, and we'd be more than happy to show you how to interact with it to help the shippers and brokers and help you get paid a little bit quicker too in some instances.
I should backtrack because, again, I mean, even if you're not using the full system, you're still using it even as a carrier. You may be a 1-2 truck operation, but
You'll still get benefits.
You're still going to get the benefits of using it because you're going to be on the other side, receiving those messages, getting those direct loads, getting those freight tenders, all of those functions that are in the TMS.
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing I even see, because this can also help owner operators out a lot as well too. Instead of having to play this complicated game of phone tag or message war with your shipper or broker at the end of the day to complete one load, and how many times they'll call you to see where you're at on the load process. What if they could just send you one notification? That notification will change if information on that load changes at all, and you don't have to be spending all this time trying to mess around on your phone and drive at the same time.
Yeah.
You can go get all of it right there. Super simple, easy way. And at the end of that as well too, Austin touched on it a little bit, when you can just take a picture of that ticket and just type in some information, at the end of the day, that ticket gets into that broker shipper system faster.
Yep.
Which means you can get paid faster. The shipper can get paid by the farmer faster on the end of that as well too, and just the ease of getting paid quicker. I know we've heard so many different horror stories here on BulkLoads of groups that are just taking so long to pay, but this system here would kind of be that idea of how can we get you paid quicker by letting this enter their system.
Hey guys, Jared Flinn here. You've heard us talk about in our intros and outros, but we will be at the Mid-America Truck Show March 30th through April 1st. We would love to see you there. We know that this is one of the best spots for us to meet so many of you all in one setting. I know a lot of you are all across the country and come to this event. So yeah, if you are planning to attend the Mid-America Truck Show on March 30th through April 1st, please come see us. We are in the West Wing. You can look up on the app, or I'm sure that they'll have signage on that. But yeah, Mid-America Truck Show, BulkLoads, Bulk Insurance Group, and Smart Freight, we will all be there, and we hope to see you there. Well, let's kind of transition and really talk about the high level benefits. And man, we're constantly rolling out new things all the time. And we have, 5 developers, just focused on this thing, building it out. And a lot of this that we're developing are at the request of people that are currently using it, because we know, hey, if that's something they need, other groups are going to want the same thing. They're going to benefit from it as well. But I don't want to get, there's a lot to this, but like talk high level from different scenarios. Like what are some of the biggest features or rollouts that we have, for carriers right now, and maybe kind of transition that for brokers, for shippers as well, that we're pushing out. And I want to end on even some of the ones that are in the pipeline right now that are going to soon to release.
Yeah. Austin, I might let you take over just to start talking about the carrier side of things, since you work closer with a lot of our carrier partners, at least.
Yeah. Something we're really excited about is this idea called OCR. And you might say, what's OCR? You might see some stuff like that on our website. It stands for optical character recognition. So I know a lot of us are starting to begin scanning checks to get paid for them. So you can go on your bank app, scan a check, it'll read all that information. We're starting to build some of this out that'll do it for tickets as well. So you'll see that at a benefit at all levels of the load process. You snap the picture of that ticket, it can copy it all over. You can save all the weights, data you need, and that's going to benefit everybody in the end. I feel like that's a huge one we have that we're rolling out with and testing currently.
So that's a big functionality. I think another really large functionality that's going to be kind of in the pipeline as well too is that for the shipper side of things, the co-op has several facilities that they work underneath. There's a link that they can send to their facilities, and they can actually see all the loads that are going to be coming in and coming out of their facilities.
Oh, wow.
at any given time. So location managers can almost manage how many trucks they're going to have on a given day or a given week. I know we hear this all the time in when we had this conference that was a couple weeks ago, a lot of people talked about wait times.
Yeah.
But what if we can give that facility the information they need to see on wait times so they can fight as hard as they can to push these trucks through? So instead of letting people take off a half day or take off a holiday, we need to keep these people here because there's a lot of trucks that are going to be coming into loading and unloading.
Nice.
So that's a big piece for them. I think just reports in general as well
Yep.
too is going to be another thing for the future. It's just how efficient is my business right now? And this could even be for carriers or shippers or brokers at the end of the day, is how efficient am I running this operation that I'm working on right now? And having those reports connect to other systems as well too. Because I know, Austin, you've kind of spearheaded the connectivity with QuickBooks aspect of things. Like, how do we get all that information into a easier system to process for payments like QuickBooks? And
Well, I
other
think that's one worth
ERPs?
noted. I mean, we are integrated with QuickBooks, several different ag software ERPs as well. And I mean, we're continue to do that. But yeah, just we've realized that that's a big part of this is being connected with other services. So you're not having to pull stuff out of ours and manually input it into others or vice versa.
Yeah.
We've created these APIs where all that can be digitally done, where load can come out of one software system and land into TMS.
Yep, 100%. Automation is going to be
Yeah.
where we're going to look to push a lot of things for the future. So instead of having to spend all your time typing or data entry, how do we make all that as simple as possible?
And I think that's a unique thing you'll see too within our system, working with Caleb and myself. Really, there's no integration out there that we'll say no to. If you bring it to us and you see benefit at the end of the day, whether it be an accounting system or an ERP system, like Jared mentioned, we're pretty willing to connect to anyone at the end of the day. If you see value in it, we see value in it as well. Because what we come to find is, if it's beneficial for you, then it's going to be beneficial for someone else out there too in the space.
If someone right now is listening to this and they're like, "Hey, I am using another dispatch or TMS program. What can yours do better than mine?" I mean, I'm kind of putting this on the spot for you guys, and you don't know what other systems are out there, but what would be some things that you would ask them or something for them to think about of why they should be using bulk TMS?
Yeah, I think this is really good because we hear this all the time as well too, because a lot of people have started utilizing other TMSs before we even came out with our own. And I think the biggest thing people need to ask themselves if they are using another system is, how efficient is it really making my life? Working with other systems, and I've played around with a lot of them before I was here at BulkLoads, and it always felt like something was missing on all these systems. It always felt like, man, this wasn't really made for me. And that's what we even see. There's almost seems like there's a big disparity in other systems that are out there. Is that one, they either felt like they were a great price, but man, they were just built for the van side of things, or man, there was a customized, crazy expensive system that still wasn't able to give me all the necessity that I needed. So I just think that's the biggest thing people need to ask themselves is like, is it really that efficient? Is it able to understand tonnage, bushel measurements, and all this? Is it really able to duplicate loads in a way where if a shipper comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to give you this whole entire contract of something."
Yeah.
Do you have to enter every single one of those loads in individually to get them into the system? Or can you just say, like with our system, I have 30 loads. Boom.
Well, that's what some people, trucking people say trucking's trucking. It's like, no, bulk trucking is a lot different than the rest of trucking, in my opinion. And just because of the way it's done, the way contracts are done, and loads, and you touched on those. What else, Austin, would you say when you're talking to some of these that may already have another system that they're using on why they should consider TMS?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the groups we've talked with, their hesitancy comes from their initial setup from their old system, if that makes sense. So, say they implemented a system 5 years ago, that was a very painful process.
Very
for them.
painful. Yep.
A lot of manual data entry just to get my facilities and all my customers in there to where I could even think about billing them. What we found on the carrier end of things, if you're currently using a system, we can usually move all your contact info in within a day or two, test it with a couple of drivers, and we can have you up and running in our system and out of your old system within a week. And even for the broker shippers that might have a little bit more complexity, a lot of times there we're looking at like a 2-3 week turnaround on change. So I know that's a big deal for a lot of people. It is scary thinking about, changing systems, because it probably was a painful process for you in the past. But with the team that we have here and the technology, we can import a lot of that data and get you switched over relatively quick.
And I have to say this, our onboarding process, that's not extra. That's included with what we do. I think some of these companies I've seen, oh, well, it's X amount to onboard, X amount to this, X amount to this. Well, then now all of a sudden you're paying, you've got all these upfront costs that you weren't even accounting for. For us, we're looking at the long-term game with this and the long-term customer. So we're not worried about that. And that's one thing that I'm proud that we're not after a quick dollar to get just somebody set up and then off to races. We spend a lot of time onboarding, but then even ongoing training with that.
Yeah. And as we change different things or hear what you want to see different within the system, we implement it and train you on that new thing you wanted to see different.
Yeah.
I'd say the last piece, though, just want to touch on here real quick, is just the idea of document capture as well. Just like everybody else that listens to this podcast know, is document capture is super, super important, especially for the bulk world. Again, you can't get paid until this paperwork is captured. So what is the easiest way to capture paperwork onto that load? Which a lot of the times it's having a driver just have an app downloaded where they can just take a picture of that ticket. It automatically attaches it to that load with all the rate associated with it. So paying can be super, super simple. And you don't have to play this complicated game of connect the ticket and do the math and put it in somewhere.
Nice. Well, just to kind of close this out, if there are listeners listening and they want to learn more information about this, they don't want you guys to call them and sell them on this, but they're just wanting to kind of take a sneak peek and see if this is something that can be beneficial. They've seen it on the website. We've been posting it even on our forums, news articles and all that. But what are kind of the next steps if someone says, hey, I might be willing to look at this?
Yeah, I'd say next steps for sure. You could always shoot me or Austin an email. Our emails, of course, are going to be mine as Caleb@BulkLoads.com, CALEB@BulkLoads. And Austin's is his first name as well, too, @BulkLoads.com. As well as shoot a message out to the support line or just call our number, 800-518-9240. Again, I like how you said that as well, too. We don't want to be salesy here at BulkLoads ever, especially on our TMS end of things. We really want to see what it takes to make your life easier, because again, we've seen it with our users like Walmsley Trucking, RC Trucking, and these other co-ops as well too that we're partnered with. Just how much time it saved. Like, it was almost emotional.
Yeah. I remember those guys saying it at our conference when they came and was like, hey, you don't realize how much this has helped our business.
Yeah, it's like we were able to expand the company so much to an extent that we couldn't have been able to do it without you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's important to note too. Caleb and I spend a lot of time out over the road here in the Midwest too. So you're not too far up the road. We make different trips kind of all over the country, but we'd be more than happy to swing by and show it to you in person too if we're around, because at the end of the day, we'd love to meet you if we haven't met you before, and it's always easier to go through some of this more, in-depth stuff in person. So.
Well, I'll say this. So we try to be old-fashioned in a good way. We'll gladly Zoom with somebody and meet that way. But man, if you're always willing, we'd love to come out and physically meet you and shake your hand and sit down and have a cup of coffee and really walk through the processes. And I'll say this too, this system, it's got a lot of functionality, but we can customize it to your need. We know that every business isn't a cookie cutter same entity, but let us kind of work with you. Let us know what's important to you, and we can customize it to fit those needs.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, man, Caleb and Austin, I am so proud of what you guys are doing, man. It's going to be interesting to see as Bulk TMS builds out the next wave of this. I just the amount of manpower and development hours, it seems like we're constantly going, but man, we've come a long way. In a short amount of time, and our users are a testament to that. Everybody that's been using it. So man, congratulations for what you guys are doing.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to keep coming out with new things here for the future as well. And as we do that, we'll keep letting you guys know more information of what we are doing out there, because at the end of the day, and I know I've seen messages or I've heard people say it, but BulkLoads, what we wanted to do at the end of the day is make a spot or a place where everybody can interact with each other in the most efficient way possible. And that's all that we really wanted to do. And that's what we feed off of, is helping our members and users thrive.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.